Team GB's record-breaking Olympians have touched down on home soil. Flight BA 2016, complete with a golden nose cone, carried more than 300 athletes and many bottles of champagne. And there they are, a proud group photo to show off part of that massive medal haul. All followed by emotional reunions with families and friends. We'll be live at Heathrow, where the team arrived to a hero's welcome. Also this lunchtime. Russia will not be allowed to compete at the Rio Paralympics next month after losing its appeal against a ban. And how becoming a mother widens the gender pay gap even more.
Here, 6 months after the Didcot power station collapse, questions over why 3 of the men's bodies still haven't been found. And as Team GB return from Rio, what's the Olympic effect here in the south?
Good afternoon, welcome to the BBC News at 1. A triumphant Team GB has arrived home after its record-breaking performance in the Rio Olympics. It brought back 67 medals, 27 of them gold, the biggest ever haul from an overseas games. Well, athletes joined in an impromptu chorus of the national anthem before they left and celebrated their achievements with champagne on the flight. The boxer Nicola Adams and gymnast Max Whitlock were the first off the plane from Brazil, which was given the special number BA 2016 and newly painted with a gold nose cone. Well, let's cross now to Heathrow and to Simon McCoy. Simon.
Rita, thank you. Yes, an amazing day here because, of course, they smashed their medal target. They achieved a number of notable firsts and, perhaps most importantly, they finished second in the medal table, ahead even of China. It's been described as an Olympic fiesta like no other. And today they were reunited with their family. A day of remarkable events, remarkable images. And with the latest, here's Katie Gorner.
It arrived carrying a haul of precious metal from Rio, the plane they renamed Victorious in honour of Team GB. On board there was even extra champagne to fuel the celebrations for a nation that won gold across more sports than any other. These are moments to cherish for Team GB, led out by gymnast Max Whitlock and boxer Nicola Adams. They are a team that took on the world and won.
Well, you sense this is going to take a while to sink in for Britain's athletes. They return home having made history in Rio, a record 67 medals, 2 more than London 2012, and its success that has created a whole host of new stars.
After winning the hearts of the country, it was time to return to their loved ones back home, and they have much to catch up on.
On social media we could feel how much support there was, but it's not until you get back here how much we really had, so it's good to be here.
When we were out there, of course we're all on social media, but personally I encouraged the guys in the 8 to try and keep their eyes wide open and experience Rio, so we weren't with our heads in our phones, so we really didn't know quite how busy it was going to be, and this is just incredible.
Adam Peaty takes Olympic gold for Great Britain.
It was a superb team performance, sparked by one man, Adam Peaty.
Oh my goodness me, 57.
The swimmer who won Britain's first medal of the Games, and in some style. It's a race which will long be remembered.
Adam Peaty of Great Britain.
It's an absolute honour to be lucky enough to be one of the first events where we can actually get the momentum. All the way through my season, I knew that, and I carried that into my training every day. My coach says, even when I'm on my last leg, I'm completely dead. She says, we've got to carry that momentum and get the team a good head start.
Even for more experienced heads, it was an Olympics of firsts. Catherine Granger became Britain's most decorated female Olympian in Rio and the first British woman to win 5 medals in separate games.
Emotion, elation.
It felt like it was a very, very special team to be part of, and I think as the medals start rolling in, there's this immense sense of pride that is infectious, and everyone wants to add to that. Everyone wants to contribute in the best way they can. Yeah. So to have a chance to bring in, the best race of your career, the biggest moment of the Olympics, and then add to the medal target it's a really special thing as an athlete to do.
For many of these returning athletes, their lives will be changed forever by their success in Rio. Although some things are more precious than gold. Katie Gornall, BBC News.
It's very bright in this room. It's all the reflection from all the gold medals that are here. These are faces that we've all become used to. Adam Peaty, of course, Olympic and world record swimmer, and two brothers, Alistair, Jonathan Brownlee, who it's a question everybody will want to know. At what point does sibling rivalry give way to brotherly love? Because there was that wonderful photograph of you at the end of the race. Up until then, what was going through your minds?
Well, obviously it's different once you cross the line, but we can actually help each other out and race to both our interests and kind of as a team for most of the race until about halfway through the run. And at that point, it's every man for himself when you're racing, and then you can afford to remember he's your brother again when you cross the line.
Is that the moment you remembered?
Well, I never quite forgot it, but obviously, he's just a competitor too at that point.
And what's it like to be back? Had you any idea of the impact what you've achieved has done to this country?
No, we didn't have any idea. We've been quite sheltered from it. Obviously, before the races, we concentrated on our own races. And then I never thought it'd be anything like this. It's incredible to get support. Obviously, I was very lucky in London to have a home Olympic Games. And to come home to be greeted off the plane by hundreds of people, it's pretty special, and it's all been very, very friendly, and it's absolutely amazing to be part of it.
Adam, very, very friendly, but also huge respect for all Team GB and what they've achieved. For you, what's it like to be home?
Oh, there's nothing better than flying into on a beautiful day like this. Seeing the whole of Britain is just amazing. Flying over London as well. That's what you do it for. You do it for home. You do it for your country, and you do it for the momentum for these guys as well. And hopefully, I played a big part in just pushing them a little bit further. So.
What happens for you now? Have you already got Tokyo in your head, or are you thinking, there are loads of offers? I've read about all these offers, millions of pounds. What's your priority now?
I think just chilling out, relaxing, realising what we've done as a team. As soon as we realise that, then we can move on, and we're going to put this to bed. But we're not going to use this as a distraction. We're going to use it as we've done this, and we've proved we can do this under massive amounts of pressure. I was going in top favourite, going in world record holder, top time of the year, and I just put that behind me, and that's exactly what we're going to do now, and we'll move on.
Jonathan, what was the flight back like?
Oh, it was great to be part of the whole team. Obviously, we have not really been kind of with the whole team because we stayed in different hotels because our event was a bit separate.
So this is the first time many of you saw each other?
You were seeing each other around, but first time we probably spoke. But it's really, really good. It was a very kind of party atmosphere. Some areas of the plane were quieter or louder than others.
But which was the loudest part of the plane?
I think these guys were quite loud, and the hockey girls.
The hockey girls.
They were the loudest, whereas my area was a little bit quieter. But no, it was great. It was a great celebration.
And what about for you, gold medalist? Are you thinking of Tokyo, or is this the moment where you just take stock?
Yeah, I think it's important to relax a bit, let the achievements sink in and appreciate it. But also, I do want to move on. I want to do longer distance triathlon at some point. I don't have to do it, but I just couldn't say at the moment that I'm not going to be in Tokyo, because the Olympics it's just fantastic. It's magical. It's the biggest thing in the sport by a long way, and a massive draw.
A question that a lot of people here are asking, and people in China, France, Germany are all asking, what is it about Team GB this time around that has made them so successful?
I think it's really difficult to talk about all sports, but in our sport, the Olympics is very, very special. It's the one thing you want to win every 4 years, and if you actually look at people's performances on the day, they were on whole, only a little bit, if not any better, with quite a few of them worse than you would perform in a World Series. And actually, I've spent the last years working out how I can be better on that day than I am any other day in the last 4 years. And I think that comes across so many sports, and obviously then that's supported by the lottery funding and how good we are at just dedicating to that performance with all the strategy and the staff and everything that helps us to get there. But that's basically the principle for everyone.
And Jonathan, for your sport, you're hoping that people were watching you, young boys, girls, who will say, I can do that one day.
Oh, that'd be absolutely incredible. That's the case. Obviously in London, we had a big opportunity to do that, and in Rio, hopefully, we've built on that. I've gained a lot from the sport. I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I didn't do sport, and if I can pass that the enjoyment of sport onto some kids and show kids that sport exercise doesn't have to be hard work. It can be very fun, and definitely. And when I get that across in triathlon, it's not a crazy sport that involves cycling your bike for hours and hours. It is a fun sport.
Adam, a lot of people before these Olympics, it's fair to say, hadn't heard much about you. You're not going to be able to go anywhere without people saying, well done, Adam. Are you ready for that? Has that sunk in, the level of what you've done?
I think, yeah, I mean, you don't really get any choice, so you've got to embrace it. But, as I said before, it's more of a positive thing now, and hopefully we can go back home and inspire millions of children to take up swimming. I mean, I only just saw one child earlier and he says, I'm going to go swimming tonight, and it's just things like that make sport very powerful, and hopefully we're going to continue to do that as ambassadors of Great Britain, really, for sport in general. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely more of a positive thing.
And will you ever let that medal go?
No, definitely
This
not.
thing around your neck?
Yeah.
You as well?
Oh, yeah, definitely not, no. Yeah. Look, it's heavy though.
Show us all your medals, and that's what we'll leave with, the remarkable Team GB back home. Rita, back to you.
Simon, thank you so much. Well, with just over 2 weeks to go until the Paralympic Games start in Rio, it's been confirmed that the entire Russian team won't be taking part. The International Paralympic Committee banned Russia from the Games after Moscow was accused of running a state-sponsored doping programme. Russia launched an appeal, but this morning it was rejected. Let's speak now to our sports correspondent, Richard Conway, who's with me. Richard, what were the reasons given for upholding this ban?
Well, we'll get the full reasons in due course, Richard, but what the court said today is that the ban against Russia was proportionate under the circumstances. That's how they've described it. Now, the IPC banned Russia from the Rio Paralympics after the McLaren report, which was looking into allegations of state-organised doping within Russia, was presented. There was allegations and evidence within that report that implicated Russian Paralympians back at the Sochi Winter Games in 2014. Earlier this month, the IPC president, Sir Philip Craven, said that Russia had put medals over morals and said he was disgusted with their approach, said that it had undermined the entire anti-doping system within Russia. So for that reason, he felt they could have no place in Rio when it begins next month. So today the court has upheld that decision. Russia say they will appeal, but of course that appeal will come too late before the start of the Games, so there will be no Russians in Rio for the Paralympics.
And the Paralympics face potentially other problems too.
Yeah, it's very challenging circumstances for the Paralympics. There's a financial crisis from the organisers, of course, within Rio. Travel grants have been paid late, so that means that 10 countries are struggling to even make it to Rio to compete. Set against that, a number of venues will be closed, locations will have to move, transport services have been reduced as well, all because of this budget problem that the organisers are facing. On top of that, now we'll have no Russian team there competing as well. So Sir Philip Craven, again from the IPC, saying that these are the most challenging circumstances they've faced in over 56 years. Nevertheless, they are determined to put on a good show, to let the sport take over, and are hoping that despite all the issues they face, that the Paralympic sport will prevail and the Paralympic movement will try and move on a further step after after Beijing in 2008 and London in 2012.
OK, Richard, thank you. Women are still earning less than men, and the gap grows larger after childbirth, according to a report out today. The Institute for Fiscal Studies says hourly pay rates between the sexes have narrowed over the past 2 decades, but that on average, women are still earning nearly a fifth less than men. The government has acknowledged that it needs to make more progress and faster. Here's our business correspondent, John Moylan.
Taking time out when you're a mum can be hugely rewarding. But juggling motherhood and the world of work has never been child's play.
Women struggle with the issue of having to be perfect mothers at home and then having to be perfect in their career.
I've taken a pay cut because I've changed my career and I've changed my hours. So I don't think that's a gender issue. It's my choice.
According to new research, the hourly wage gap between men and women is around 18%. That has narrowed in recent years. But for mums, that gap grows steadily. It's 10% before the arrival of the first child, but it soars to 33% by the time the child is 12 years old. So why is it happening?
One of the key areas to look at here is what happens when women reduce their hours of paid work. For whatever reason, at that point, a lot of them find that wage progression shuts down. Now that could be because they are genuinely not gathering the skills and experience that employers value in those kinds of jobs. It could be something to do with some form of discrimination or power that employers are exercising over those women in holding down their wages.
So what's being done about it? Well, the new Prime Minister says equality is high on the government's agenda.
That means fighting against the burning injustice. If you're a woman, you will earn less than a man.
In recent years, we've seen the introduction of a number of family-friendly policies, including shared parental leave and a doubling of the free childcare available for working families. But the government says it's now going further, pushing ahead with plans to force firms to publish the gap between what they pay men and women. Here at this financial firm, they've been doing that for several years. Their pay gap has been shrinking, but they admit that businesses need to do more.
There's no silver bullet. I think it's really important that organisations are prepared to be held to account and are transparent and publish their data. And I also think the other key here is recruitment. Being really thoughtful and creative around how to go into the market and find the great women that are out there and encourage them back into the workplace to fulfil their potential.
With more women in work than ever before, it's important to understand why this pay gap exists. But unions say that it's a scandal that millions of women still take a financial hit when becoming a mum. John Moylan, BBC News.
Around 1 in 10 women in their 50s uses hormone replacement therapy to counter the effects of the menopause. For many years, the argument has swung back and forth over its benefits and its potential dangers. Now a new study says the risk of illness has been previously understated. According to the Institute for Cancer Research, women who take one of the most common forms of therapy, a combination of estrogen and progestogen, are nearly 3 times more likely to develop breast cancer than those who don't use it. Here's our medical correspondent, Fergus Walsh.
Taking any medication is a balance between risk and benefit, but for HRT, the evidence keeps shifting. The new study shows that for every 1,000 women aged 50, 14 will develop breast cancer over 5 years if they're not on HRT or if they're taking estrogen-only treatment. But if they're taking combined HRT, that would rise to 34 cases. Importantly, the increased risk disappears once women stop taking the drug.
It relieves the symptoms of the menopause, which can make a huge difference to a lot of women. But there are risks, breast cancer being one. Other cancers like ovarian cancer, the risk is slightly increased, and some kinds of heart disease as well. So we really encourage any women who are worried to talk to their doctors about these pros and cons.
Sarah Evans is a nurse in Solihull. She started taking combined HRT a month ago. So will this study make her think again?
At the present time, I won't consider changing my mind. Even though I've only been taking it for a short time, I can see the benefits already. I'm sleeping much better at night. The hot flushes are starting to improve. I would definitely say that my tiredness is improving, and also my mood does seem a little bit seem better than it was previously.
Last year, the health watchdog NICE said HRT should not simply be dismissed because of the risks. For those women opting for HRT, experts advise they take the lowest effective dose for the shortest possible time. Fergus Walsh, BBC News.
The time is 18 minutes past 1. Our top story this lunchtime. Team GB's record-breaking athletes have arrived home after their historic Rio 2016 Games. And there they are, a proud group photo to show off part of that massive medal haul.
In South today, investigations reveal a fire which destroyed a secondary school in West Sussex at the weekend was started accidentally by a workman. And as Team GB return from Rio, what's the immediate Olympic effect in the South?
The BBC has learned that a badger cull in England is to be extended to 5 new areas. It's already in operation in 3 parts of the country in an effort to stop bovine tuberculosis spreading to cattle herds. It's understood that the mass shooting of badgers will begin in early September in South and North Devon, North Cornwall, West Dorset and South Herefordshire. Well, our correspondent Sophie Long is in the village of Putley in Herefordshire for us now. Sophie.
Well, Rita, it's very peaceful here in Putley at the moment, looking down over the fields of South Herefordshire. But this could form the centre of one of the new culling zones. Now, culling is controversial. Many farmers here want to get rid of badgers, saying they're a nuisance and spread disease. But animal lovers want to protect them, saying they're not necessarily to blame. They're thought to be the latest and greatest threat to Britain's dairy industry, according to the government. Badgers are blamed for spreading bovine TB in cows, a disease which results in the slaughter of thousands of cattle every year. It's prompted the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs to develop a 25-year strategy to combat the disease. Trials of badger culling began 3 years ago amid strong resistance from animal rights groups. But a year later, it ran into trouble in 2014 when not all targets had been met. And last autumn, the cull was extended into North Devon. But now the BBC has learnt that the culling is to be extended from its current zones of Gloucestershire, Somerset and parts of Dorset into new shooting areas of South and North Devon, West Dorset, parts of Cornwall and South Herefordshire. Farmers say badgers are an expensive problem.
It is about time the government done something about TB, because the badgers do a lot of damage. It costs us farmers thousands not only to keep cattle and rear them, and well, it is bad news to hear we've gone down with TB, and that costs us a lot more money in the future.
But the expansion of the cull is opposed by many animal rights activists who say that scientific evidence for badgers' involvement in TB is thin on the ground.
I'm quite surprised that the government has continued to do it. A lot of MPs last year said that they wouldn't have a rollout until there was proof that BTB had lowered inside the cull zones that were already ongoing, and that hasn't been shown to be happening.
The government is yet to formally announce the expansion of the cull, but in a statement they said, England has the highest incidence of TB in Europe, and that is why we're taking strong action to eradicate the disease. Almost 4,000 badgers have so far been shot in culls over the past 3 years, at a cost of well over £7,000 per animal. The cull is pressing ahead in the face of opposition from animal rights groups. It may soon face questions on money grounds as well. Well, Rita, this is an issue that has divided opinion for decades, and it looks set to continue to do so. DEFRA wouldn't confirm this morning whether selections had been made, but it's thought that marksmen are already being trained and shooting could begin here early next month.
Sophie, many thanks. Sophie Long there. One of the government's central aims for the NHS is to boost the service at weekends. But documents leaked from the Department of Health suggest there are concerns over a shortage of doctors and other health staff, with a high risk of what they call workforce overload. Well, let's speak now to our health correspondent, Sophie Hutchinson. Sophie, what more's in these documents and how significant are they?
Well, what they are is it's known as a risk register, and it's something that's drawn up for all major projects in order to iron out any potential problems. What officials at the Department of Health have done is to list potential risks to this policy to have a more 7-day NHS. And they have also put in some potential solutions as well. Now, in terms of the risks that they've cited, they've looked at a possible lack of staff and a possible lack of money as well. They've also said that it raises questions about whether it will actually improve care and whether the general public will even notice. And in terms of how significant it is, the government's critics, in particular the junior doctors who've now held 6 strikes, fighting, working more weekends in order to stretch NHS services across the 7 days, it is significant for them to see that civil servants are telling the Health Secretary that there are potential risks, echoing the risks that the junior doctors themselves have been telling the government about. And they have felt that the Health Secretary has been pretty dismissive about the fact that there might not be enough staff in order to make a safe 7-day service. So it is significant for those doctors, but the government has said, look, this doesn't mean just because we're looking at the risks that this plan is off track, it will go ahead and it will have benefits for patients.
OK, Sophie, thank you. The chairman of the education watchdog Ofsted, David Hoare, has announced his resignation. Earlier this month, Mr Hoare apologised after calling the Isle of Wight a ghetto where there'd been inbreeding. The MP for the Isle of Wight said Mr Hoare's comments had been inaccurate, insulting and extremely unhelpful. Now, if you're having lunch, you might just want to pause for a moment. That's because doctors are warning about the health risks to musicians from a build-up of mould and fungi in wind instruments. The condition's being called bagpipe lung after a 61-year-old man died from a lung inflammation which he contracted playing his bagpipes. Doctors are urging other musicians to be extra hygienic. Here's Adam Fleming.
They're Scotland's national instrument, the soundtrack to any parade. And they've even been played in space. But could bagpipes be a health risk too? Medics at Wythenshawe Hospital in Manchester have released details of the musician who died in 2014. When they swabbed the mouthpiece, they found this. Inside the bag, this. And in the pipes were these spores. A post-mortem confirmed the man died from a lung condition.
It came out in conversation with the family that he was a very keen bagpipe player, and it was found out that whilst he was playing the bagpipes, his respiratory issues got worse and worse, and then I understand that he went on holiday for 3 months or longer to Australia without taking his bagpipes, and his condition improved. Came back, continued, resumed playing the bagpipes, and then everything started to go wrong.
And there have been previous cases with different wind instruments. Doctors are urging musicians, whether they play the trumpet, the saxophone or the flute, to clean their instruments regularly and to notice whether practicing leaves them short of breath or with a cough. Although a sense of perspective is key.
I think there's a danger that there can be an excessive reaction. I've seen 1 or 2 newspaper headlines saying playing the bagpipes daily may kill. Well, anything in life may kill. The chances are extremely small. And of course they're made even lower if sensible precautions are taken, like making sure that the pipes are cleaned reasonably regularly and stopped from being damp.
And for this piper on Westminster Bridge today, health really doesn't come into it.
I look after my bagpipes, and cleaning is just part of looking after it. I heard that report. I'd never heard about it before, but I clean them not because I'd heard that they'll kill me. I clean them because I look after them.
Adam Fleming, BBC News.
More now on our top story, and as we've seen, Team GB's athletes have returned to a hero's welcome. But there have been plenty of other Olympic homecomings too. Rafaela Silva won Brazil's first gold medal at the Games in the 57-kilogram judo division. She was raised in Rio's most notorious favela, known as the City of God, where there's been a rapturous homecoming, as Greg Dawson reports.
There was no first-class ticket, there was no plane. When your homecoming is just a few miles from the Olympic Village, a fire engine will do. Rafaela Silva, Brazil's judo gold medalist, back in the neighbourhood where she learned to fight. Cidade de Deus, the City of God, a favela so troubled with drug battles and gangs that it inspired a film. Now it has a new inspiration.
Everyone should have her as an example. I have 5 children. I want one of them to make me as proud as she is making us proud. Because she fought and suffered for this. I take off my hat to her. I'm very proud.
Rafaela Silva is the woman who delivered what Brazil had waited years for, its first gold medal at its first Olympics. When she was a child, her family enrolled her in free judo classes to keep her away from gang life. She once considered quitting the sport because of racist abuse, but bounced back to become a national hero.
I think it's very important after 19 years of judo practice to see my work being recognised with all this love. It's very important to me.
The favela where she grew up still has problems with violence and poverty, but this was a day for pride. To celebrate the woman who turned the City of God into the City of Gold. Greg Dawson, BBC News.
Let's take a look at the weather now. Here's Darren Bett. Darren.
Our athletes have arrived back to golden sunshine, haven't they, Rita? That's not the case across the whole of the country. Let's head outside, because that's the best place to be today, especially in England and Wales. This is Cambridgeshire, and this could be one of the hot spots around the country. The hot air is still pushing its way in from the near continent. Already temperatures in England and Wales are higher than they were yesterday. We've reached 29 degrees in one or two places already. But as you can see, it's a different story in Scotland and Northern Ireland. There's much more cloud here. Put bigger on the map there just to show you the contrast, really, because this was earlier on, again, a Weather Watcher picture in South Lanarkshire, and there's the chance of catching a little rain as well. So much more cloud for Scotland and Northern Ireland. A bit of rain not far away, but for England and Wales, well, for some probably it's a bit too hot. We're likely to get temperatures 30, 31 degrees, possibly maybe to the north of London. It won't be far off that, probably around Manchester and through the Vale of York. So a warm, if not hot day for England and Wales. Lots of sunshine through the rest of the day and light winds too. But very different story north of the border and across Northern Ireland, where the cloud and a little rain at times, pegging temperatures back to only 17 or 18 degrees. That rain will still be around in Scotland during this evening. Chance of one or two thundery showers just clipping the far north of England. Maybe some heavy rain running up the east coast of Scotland in the wee small hours. But otherwise, it's a band of cloud that's coming into western parts of England and Wales. And behind that, we've got the comfortable, cooler, fresher air. But a really warm night across England and Wales, especially towards the southeast and East Anglia, very uncomfortable. It's this weather front that marks the boundary between the hot air and the fresher air, and for most of the day that weather front is just a band of cloud that's just edging into England and Wales. But later on we could spark a few thundery showers into some of these central southern parts of England. But with more sunshine for Scotland and Northern Ireland, a much better day than today. It'll feel warmer too. Temperatures will be lower for Wales, Western England. The heat is squeezed there towards the southeast and East Anglia. Still temperatures not far off 30 degrees, and it'll be really warm for a while actually in Southampton for the cricket tomorrow. Unfortunately here we're going to be in the firing line for some of those potentially thundery showers, and really during Wednesday evening and Wednesday night we could see areas of thundery rain pushing northwards, mainly across England and Wales. They'll still be around probably into Thursday morning, perhaps into the afternoon in one or two places. Scotland and Northern Ireland, some sunshine, one or two showers here. It may stay dry across the southeast of England, and here temperatures not quite as high as today. Rita.
Thank you, Darren. Well, that's it for now, but we're going to leave you with a reminder of some of those Rio triumphs and some images of Team GB's record-breaking medalists arriving home. From everyone on the BBC News at 1, bye-bye.
Chris Mears, gold for Jack Law. They are 3-metre synchro champions.
Has he got enough, Skinner? Is he going to get there? He does! He does! Great Britain defend their Olympic title!
Considering where Great Britain have been in the men's team sprint at the Olympics, they turn up and they win.
Gold for Nick Skelton. And it's come almost from nowhere. What a fantastic performance.
And he takes the gold medal.
Nicola Adams has made history all over again. She dances in the centre of the ring. She has done it.
Mo Farah, in the most difficult race of his Olympic career, wins gold again. He does the double-double.